All right, everybody, happy Friday. It is $15 Friday, and I am excited to be back with a wine that blew me away. I actually cannot believe this wine is not $15, not $14. Oh no, we're going all the way down to 10 today. So stay tuned. Let's do it. We are traveling to Spain today, and hopefully after last week's Shiraz in the land down under in Australia, you're ready for something a little spicier. So we're going to Spain. This is another region that you can find an immense amount of value and quality. In fact, this is probably the place that I hear the most people tell me this was their epiphany wine. This is the region they're going to the most. Spain is absolutely beloved for anyone in the know or even just starting to discover wine. We love it, and we love it for so many reasons. There is an enormous amount of quality throughout the entire region, and it continues to improve every single day. What is also really interesting is that despite all of the love that we all have for Spain in the wine industry and beyond, the prices continue to remain fair. $9.99, that is how much we are talking about for this wine today. And once again, do not let that screw top fool you. This is a wine of great quality, character, finesse. Screw top, not indicative of quality. If you're still on that train, time to hop off, get off the train. So let's talk about this wine. A lot of you will probably be already familiar with Rioja, which is the most famous region in Spain. That is where a lot of your Tempraníos are coming from. If you've ever had La Rioja Alta or any of the famous wines from there, you're probably really familiar with that grape. You might also be familiar with another grape called Garnacha. We are not in the Rioja today, but we are talking about that grape. And in fact, we are in a region that I think is even more up and coming than Rioja and some of the other regions in Spain. We are in Cariñena. So this is the ancestral home of Cariñena, just east of Rioja in north central Spain. Let's talk about this wine. This is going to be predominantly Garnacha, also known as Grenache, also commonly found in regions like Australia and the Rhone. Are you sensing some sort of a through line here? You should be. And it's blended with the grape that we had last week, even though it's not called Shiraz, it's called Syrah here. This is 75% Garnacha, 25% Syrah, and this is all coming from a winery called Bodegas Care, or it looks like Care on the label. I think it's Care. I could be saying that wrong for my Spanish-speaking friends. Please do let me know. And then this is the Tinto Sobre Lias, which means Sur Lie, on the lees. Something we actually don't talk about so much with red wine. We talk a lot about it when it comes to champagne because we age our wines Sur Lie. We also talk about it with Chardonnay a lot. So the lees, the dead yeast cells, the things that drop out of the wine after fermentation has finished. So this, as I said, is a blend. Let's pour it into my glass here. And oh my goodness, if this is not a basket full of fruit that you want in the springtime, I don't know what is. I love Grenache, or Garnacha, as it's called here, for a few different reasons. For me, this is a grape that is just so friendly and forgiving. This is a grape that I can serve to a lot of different people and it will make them happy. But the thing I love about Grenache the most is that it often has this really sort of kirschy, strawberry, very fruity, sort of like plushy feel. Garnacha very, very rarely is going to give you any sort of astringency, and it's not going to give you a ton of harsh tannin. It's a grape that's really soft. It's really plushy. It reminds me of Pinot Noir, with a lot of times without all of the acidity, and even more fruit. It tends to lean on the strawberry side of things. So as I stick my nose in this glass, getting all of that. I'm getting so much kirsch, so much strawberry, and I just love how fruity this is. Now, like I said, this is blended with a touch of Syrah, so you're getting a little bit of that. Remember that salinity? Remember that like sort of spicy thing that we were getting last week with the Australian Shiraz? Well, we're getting just a touch of that here. It's just there to support, there to amplify it, there to give it a little bit more of a backbone, because Grenache on its own can actually be a very flabby grape, especially from regions as hot as the one we have here. So what I love is that the Syrah is giving it just sort of a complementary spice. So we're not just getting this like really oozy, fleshy, juicy fruit on the nose. Let's try it. Also in that last sip was getting just like a whisper of vanilla. Just to, really liven it up and make it soft and plushy. If you're someone that loves wines that just kind of like feel like velvet against your palate. It just feels so soft. It feels plushy. I keep using the word plushy because it's just what it feels like. If you're someone that, loves wines to just kind of like ride over your mouth, this is the one for you. That first sip was so intoxicating. This is a very dangerous wine, especially at $10. I could drink this all day. I do have a slight chill in it, just like I did with the one before. If you're at home and you've had this wine just sitting out at room temp, throw it in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes. Get it down in temperature just a little bit. It's going to help to just sort of liven it up a little bit. And as I said, a good glass goes a long way with a wine like this. But feel free to throw it in a tumbler, throw it in a solo cup. Drink it from the bottle for all I care. It's delicious. Let's take one more sip. I love this wine as an entry point for people that are moving away from wines that have residual sugar, wines that have sweetness to them, and are starting to get more into the dry wine category. This is not sweet, but there's so much fruit in here, and it's so generous with all of the plushiness and the texture and the softness that we often associate with sweet wines. This is a really good place to just sort of like dance through on your way to something that maybe has more tannin, maybe has more structure. This is a great sort of entry point for you or whoever is drinking those wines. I also just love how friendly this is. This is like one of those wines you could serve at a dinner party, you could serve it at a wedding, you could serve it at an event, whatever you have, it's just an incredibly friendly, very quaffable, drinkable wine. As far as things that I would pair this with, I mean, that said, I can imagine this going with like Moroccan lamb stew, couscous, something that's a little bit more unctuous and fatty, something that has a lot of flavor. So gamey meats that are already a little bit on the saltier side of things that don't necessarily want a ton of tannin, because I find lamb doesn't love a lot of tannin, but something that like wants to counteract all of that savory gaminess. That's a really good way to go with this wine. So if you think about lamb and how your mouth feels after you've taken a bite of lamb or something, a gamier, pheasant, quail, goat, whatever you're having, if you've got Indian food especially, it's not too spicy, this would be a good way to go. So think of things like, rice dishes with gamier meats, or couscous with gamier meats, something with a little bit of like a tang to it, and think of how your palate feels after that and what you want. Generally, it's a little bit of like sweetness. And again, this wine is not sweet. There's no residual sugar, but it gives the illusion, the perception of something that's a little bit more rich and a little bit sweeter, so that your palate sort of balances out. You could also go with cheeses. And there's so many great cheeses from Spain, and I think the rule is always what grows together goes together, right? So get yourself a great, like manchego would be delicious. We love lighter bodied reds with cheeses. This is a perfect example. So as I said last week, if dinner is, sort of on the back burner and you're just like grabbing some cheeses, grabbing some charcuterie from the fridge, another great wine to just pair with that for a weeknight meal or snack or whatever you're doing. I'm so impressed by this. I have to tell you, when I saw it on the Wine Access website, I was like, I'll buy it. We'll see how it is. If it's garbage, we'll just toss it. And I opened that bottle and I was blown away. This is definitely my new favorite $10 wine. I think back to like my days in New York. I had this great, and I can't remember for the life of me, but I had this great Portuguese red. I forget what the producer was, but sort of in that same like, $10 to $15 bracket, and I've never been able to find it again. It reminds me a lot of this wine. So if you're someone that loves those, Portuguese reds, Spanish reds, something that's fruity, bouncy, sort of rambly fruit that gives you a lot of softness and not a lot of resistance, this is definitely going to be the one for you. Once again, as with always with these $15 Friday wines, they are available on wineaccess.com as an in-store wine. It's free shipping on 6 bottles or $120 or more, which we love. So grab yourself some Syrahs if you didn't grab them last week, and some Garnacha-Syrah mix for this week, and have yourself a nice little party by yourself or with a few friends. Just be safe. That's all I have for today. I will cheers you all. Thank you so much for watching. If you are enjoying $15 Friday, give me a like. And if you are liking what I'm doing just in general, I'd really appreciate a subscribe. It helps me out. So thank you so much. Stay tuned for next week. We are going to Sparkling Town and moving out of the reds and into something a bit more bubbly. See you soon.